Welcome to Action Energy Market Global podcast. My name is Tarja Teppo. I'm the founder of Action Energy Finance. In this video podcast, we interview people that work with clean transition. We highlight solutions and stories behind them and explore project financing options utilized. Okay, and today to Action Energy Market Global Studio, we got Jaakko Rauhala from capacity.io. And Jaakko is one of the founders and the company. Actually, I haven't checked this. How many years has Capacity been around?
Well, we've been around for about 4 years from the moment we actually incorporated the company.
All right.
And at least 3 years, like full steam.
All right.
I think we hired our first team member sometime February 2022.
All right.
So a bit over 2 years with a team, actually. Now we have more than one employee, but
Okay.
so
Super.
slow start and speeding up very quickly after that.
Sounds good. Well, why don't we start first with what actually brought you to co-found Capacity? What's your personal path to the area of energy and sustainability and heat pumps in general?
Well, that's quite many questions in one, and I don't know if we have enough time for today to go through it all in the details that everybody, I'm sure, would love to hear. But for me, with energy and sustainability topics, it started in high school with Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth coming out.
Oh, right.
That had a very, very large impact in my thinking at the time. And I always felt that I wanted to build on my interest with mathematics and physics in high school. So engineering was a very natural career path to me. Looking at the options I had at the time, energy engineering was the only one that seemed to have answers to the questions I had about climate change.
Right, so tick the boxes.
Well, yes, absolutely. To this day, I'm extremely happy about the choices I made at the time that led me to study energy technology. During my studies, I participated in all kinds of student activities outside of the classroom. And that taught me a lot about building something from scratch and not necessarily just from the context of building like hardware stuff that, of course, we engineers love to do, but also how to take action with like-minded people, how to achieve something you didn't realize was possible before you started on a journey. So this comes back to what kind of mindset you have to have when you're starting a startup. And for me, it already started back in school. That was actually also how I met my co-founders.
All right.
And yeah, that was, of course, a crucial learning experience, how to build a startup, although I didn't kind of consider those things at the time. But I always knew that if I would do my own company, it would be in the field of energy technology one way or another. My student activity years also collide with Slush being organized in Helsinki and having a need to recruit a lot of volunteers from the student communities in Finland. So that kind of showed me the way of that you don't have to work in a large company if you want to have an impact on the world. You can actually start your own company. So these kind of things formulated my thinking. Of course, the studies on the energy topics, my internships in energy companies, but then crucially building something with like-minded people and realizing that you can achieve things when you just set your mind on it. On the topic of heat pumps and kind of building a company around heat pumps, I did internships at district heating companies, which gave me a great understanding of the challenges related to decarbonization of heating. And already back then, it's like over 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, it was evident that we will be able to decarbonize electricity production with wind power and solar. But the issues we have with society were related to how do we decarbonize heating.
Yeah, that's the difficult nut.
Exactly. And at the time, the attitudes were more like maybe heat pumps are something that you put on your summer cottage or something that you need in the countryside when you don't have district heating or natural gas networks. Happy to happy to see how that attitude has been proven wrong throughout the years. Yeah, these experiences can led me to actually believe that yes, we can start a company, we can make it happen, we can build on it, and definitely helping to solve decarbonization of heating, which was kind of a big challenge I saw at the time and still see as a major challenge for our towards 100% renewable energy system.
Right. But when it comes to heat pumps, because I mean, you have because capacity, if I've understood right, so that makes heat pumps smarter. It's sort of controlling them, optimizing the use, and so forth. But because I mean, as years have gone on, 10 years ago, as you said, it was the small heat pumps, but now you have like industrial grade, large heat pumps, and everything in between, and also the heat pump use has really sort of grown tremendously over the past 7 or 8 years. So which part of that? What's the problem that you're solving in the heat pump business? Is it for the heat pumps that are already out there, or the new ones going out there, or what's sort of the core of the problem that you see in the heat pump business that you aim to solve?
Well, we of course like to think that we're the best friends of anybody who owns a heat pump. At the moment, our efforts are geared towards heat pumps in buildings, in residential and commercial buildings.
Right.
At some point, we of course are looking to expand to industrial applications, but at the moment, our focus is on how do we make heating, cooling, and hot water production more effective. As you said, we do make heat pumps smart. I would like to say that we are giving superpowers for heat pump owners. So
Right.
we help our users take ownership of their device, of course, reduce energy costs, which is a big driver, which makes using a service like ours economically viable. But there's so many other things that you need or can need as a heat pump owner. Make the operation and maintenance of the device easier, and give the users a peace of mind when it comes to their heat pumps. There are many different things that can break or go. The heat pump can do a lot of the heat pump can do a lot of funny things if it's just left to its own devices. So we like to think that we're there for anybody who owns a heat pumps. At the moment, especially in the Nordic countries, we see huge growth with people who have a dynamic tariff or a wholesale tariff or a spot-based pricing, as we say, and want to take advantage of the low prices that are associated with that and avoid the high prices, which are also a natural phenomenon of wholesale electricity prices. So the main problem at the moment, if you go down to the day-to-day activities, is just to automate the tracking and optimization of the electricity prices.
Okay. So when it comes to, you mentioned owners, so you're giving sort of the superpowers to the owners. So I guess sort of the owners or the representatives of the owners, say that if it's like the building manager or, that sounds all great and good. Is that, the reason why this problem exists in the market? Is it that you have so many different heat pump providers, or they've been sort of they are not maintained correctly, or let's put it this way: what's the problem that you see on the market which makes you say, hey, this owner needs our superpower? What's the problem in the market and why that exists?
So yeah, that's a great question. So of course there's two sides to the problem, and the big side, the big problem in society, which affects us all, is the fact that the more renewable electricity we install into our power system and the more fossil fuels we take out, that of course decarbonizes electricity production. But a big part of renewable electricity is weather dependency. So you have solar panels, you have wind power, and that creates volatility on the supply, which then itself creates volatility on power prices. And I'm sure we've all seen how electricity prices have gone up and then gone down and then gone up. And if you look at the day to day, there's a lot of changes in between the days. And that's a big impact, or a big driver for that is the impact of weather-dependent renewable electricity. And we have a lot of people who have chosen dynamic tariffs because that is, in overall, is typically the most cheapest option, because that is basically buying electricity directly from the wholesale market to a few corners there. Now, historically, the volatility has been quite mild, but now, let's call it a new energy world, post 2022, the volatility can be quite severe, price changes quick and unpredictable. What we're solving is the automation of tracking these prices for heat pump users and automatically adjusting the heat pump's energy consumption accordingly. Okay. The other side of the problem is that we have customers who tell us that, I need this for my precise heat pump model because the manufacturer doesn't enable this, or I just don't have a good tool for it. And currently I'm solving the problem with having the price app of, let's say, Fingrid in Finland on one hand, and the heat pumps app on my other hand, and trying to manually optimize that. Right. What we can do as a software company, as an effective growing startup company, we can just automate that with a few simple actions, making it super easy for the heat pump owners to start taking benefits of the dynamic tariff without any actions on themselves, other than linking their device to our product.
Right. So, so basically, you're saving euros for the customer.
That's how you can kind of quantify the benefits super easily. But the other benefits which we see are more driving this is that some people already want to do this, but they don't have proper tools, so they're doing it manually, or they have to build some very complex setups using different hardware solutions and finding custom automation code from the depths of the internet. So we are just giving them an extremely simple way to benefit from the automation capabilities that we've built. Right. And offer it as a software as a service model, which we haven't really seen in the heat pump space before.
Right. Is it? I mean, this sounds really good. When it comes to the customers, I mean, are they aware of this problem? I mean, obviously they know that the power prices fluctuate heavily. Some may be even saying that, okay, I rather, instead of a spot contract, I go with the fixed contract because they are trying to avoid the risk. But then, they might go to the wrong direction, instead of sort of embracing the risk and driving the pump in an optimal way. But would you say that this problem is something that in the customer base that you target, is it a widely known problem that they know that, okay, that they already recognize that I have this pump installation, whether it's a geothermal pump or heat recovery pump or something else. So do they already know that they have a problem, or do you need to educate them that this issue exists?
Well, good question. Of course, the customers already on our system know that how they can benefit from this. I'd say that our current target market is the Nordic countries, and their dynamic tariffs are very widespread. In Finland, we have about 30%. In Sweden, about 50%. In Norway, about 90% of the population have a dynamic-based tariff. So, with the current price, I don't have to look at Fingrid anymore. I can just look at the Helsinki Sanomat front page to see the price of electricity. So we don't actually have to educate our users on this matter that much anymore. Overall, looking at the European market, dynamic tariffs are now up and coming, but they're not as widespread in, for example, Germany or France, although we see quite a lot of activity there. And that's why we don't limit ourselves on just the spot price problem. That's one thing that's driving our business in the Nordic countries quite a lot at the moment. But that's why we, as I previously said, we're building superpowers for all the computers.
Okay.
In some other country, it can be another set of problems that will kind of get them to the same end result of both in financial savings, but also peace of mind, time reduced. For example, we're now talking about the integration of solar panels with heat pumps, just driving the heat pumps hot water production based on solar output. That can be a much bigger influence for a heat pump owner than having dynamic tires, especially in the summertime.
Absolutely, because if you can, I guess that's sort of a general rule that if you can utilize the electricity produced, if you can use it locally, I mean, it's so much more better deal than selling it back to the network. How much do you actually see this in the market that that you have customers? And here, I guess the customers, as you said, they can be housing companies, they can be office buildings, this sort of entities. How many of the customers have maybe percentage-wise or in general have already sort of gone in that they actually have several things, that they have the heat pumps and they may have some energy storage option already, they have the solar PV. Where are we in the market at the moment? How does it look to you? I mean, are we just in the early innings of this sort of hybrid combinations taking off and heat pumps taking off, or where are we in the market?
We are super. That is for a growth-oriented company like us. It's an excellent sign that things will change fast. We will see a lot of new installations on heat pumps, solar, EV charging. We don't yet see much batteries in the Nordics or in Europe in general. You see some in places like California and Texas where they have issues of power outages due to other factors. But here in Europe, where we have more robust electricity grids, especially in the Nordic countries, once again, being kind of top of class in many of these aspects, you don't see batteries that much. So yeah, we're super early. I don't have any specific numbers to give in terms of who has what. No, we don't have enough good data to actually do that. We just see whenever we publish a new feature that allows you to do hot water boost or solar panels, we see a huge increase in demand from existing and new customers. I think overall, we're still, if you look at the European scale, a big part of residential buildings is just heated with natural gas, as well as commercial buildings.
Right.
So the big opportunity is still out there and is just about to start to materialize.
So if there's like a heat pump owner listening to the podcast, so are you targeting the ones the already installed base, or are you sort of equipping the heat pump providers with your solution so that every new heat pump that gets out there would be smarter? Which is, or are you doing both?
We're absolutely doing both. So for us, working with heat pump installers, working with heat pump manufacturers on getting a smart device out there is a big priority for us, so that every new device would be smart. Of course, we're having huge amounts of new heat pumps installed every year, so that is a big driver for business to be able to put it in every new device. But there are many heat pumps out there that have already been installed in the previous years, and being able to help those customers as well is equally important. So I would say from our kind of business point of view, 50-50 new and existing ones. Of course, when you do it for new installations, it's connections and integrations are a bit easier than when you do the retrofit. Even though our product is purely software and connecting a heat pump takes 1 minute, it's still easier when your installer checks that everything is compliant with our systems when they install new devices.
Yeah, that actually sort of brings me to the my next question when you said the word compliant, because I guess heat pumps in the Nordics, it's been like 20 years, 15, 20 years ago that, so there's probably tons of models out there with different interfaces and things. So how does the heat pump market? I mean, is that something that sort of how does the installed market look like? Is it that any heat pump that's out there, can that be retrofitted to use your system, or can it automatically connect, or is it more like starting from if your heat pump is, say, less than 10 years old or 5 years old? How does that, because I guess the market has evolved over the years.
Yes, that's a great question, and that's something that we ponder every day. Overall, it seems, of course, to be a bit dependent on the manufacturer. But overall, like anything installed after 2010 seems to be capable, although it might be that they have to ones need to install like a Wi-Fi module, because that has not always been the default device in the heat pump. But then if you look at the new heat pump installations, 80% of them are Wi-Fi enabled, and the 20% that are not are typically your mini split units from certain manufacturers that are mass installed into some of the residential buildings. And then some manufacturers have made the decision that all new heat pumps, regardless where they put them, they will have a Wi-Fi chip enabled. We also have the opportunity to integrate via smart thermostats. So you have your Ecobee, Nest thermostats, which are widespread, and then there are, of course, a bunch of different thermostats out there. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the heat pump itself if the thermostat is locally connected to the heat pump.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a large part of the heat pumps installed in the past 10 years are more than capable, especially if they have Wi-Fi chip enabled. And we help our users all the time in navigating this space, and that's where our strong R&D partnerships with heat pump manufacturers come in.
Okay, super. So say that let's wrap up with the question of because there's probably people who are listening to this, it's very likely that either in your own residential building or in the building that you work, that there's a heat pump somewhere, or if not today, so in the coming years. So what would be your sort of advice to the owners of heat pumps that are listening at, sort of like, okay, this sounds great. How do we make our heat pumps smarter? What's the way to start? How do they get started, and how do they know that if they have sort of the let's put it, if they have a problem that needs to be solved?
Well, it starts with internet connectivity. So most of our integrations require that the heat pump is internet connected and is connected to the app of the manufacturer, or then smart thermostat. So internet connectivity to the device itself, remote monitoring capabilities, those are the most important things.
Okay.
If you want to go even deeper on the technology, ensuring that the heat pumps supports third-party integrations, such as Capacity I/O, so that you can actually have other tools built on top of the device. It's like choosing an iPhone, or like if you choose a phone that has Apple Store in it, and then you would choose a phone that supports only apps built by the manufacturer of the phone itself. For me, it would be an easy choice to go with the one that supports third-party apps.
So basically, if there's somebody sort of considering a new project, you would say this is the thing to check. Does this
absolutely?
So not to sort of, and I think that's at least that's one important takeaway, that if you're considering a new investment, that you should make sure that if it has an interface that supports, for example, service like yours, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I'm very biased on this opinion, but it doesn't have to be Capacity. I know it can be some other service, but that's kind of just future-proofing your device so that you're not only reliant on the capabilities of the heat pump manufacturer.
Absolutely.
You can actually take advantage advantage of innovation done by other companies.
Yeah.
I have huge appreciation as a mechanical engineer to the capabilities of heat pump manufacturers, the things that they've been able to do in the decade in terms of improving the efficiency of heat pumps. When I started working with heat pumps for the first time, coefficient of performance was around 3. Now it's around 5. It's a massive improvement altogether.
Yes.
That's highly mechanical engineering based work. Then we, as a software-based company, can then do other things that are not necessarily at the core of heat pump manufacturers offering. If you are a larger building, let's say a housing association, then having adequate smart energy metering on the devices, that's something that we sometimes see missing, although now working with the leading heat pump installers, that's something that seems to be taken automatically care of, but that's another thing just to check with your installer that you're getting the correct data from the heat pump.
Right.
And yeah, those are like the as unbiased as I can be in my position, the advice I can do. Ensure that it's Wi-Fi enabled or internet connected. It doesn't have to be Wi-Fi. If it's a larger pump, it can be Ethernet cabled. But as long as you get it to the internet and you get the correct data, especially on the energy side, those are pretty good at ensuring future compatibility. And then the best is to ensure that you can build or integrate third-party applications in the same way that you can just take any app on your iPhone or Android phone versus
Right.
what
And I guess
we saw.
And I guess on top of that you should check what kind of electricity contract you have, so that to be really able to take advantage out of the service, you should have a sort of a spot contract with dynamic pricing, so that you can really
Yes, absolutely.
So that's
that will give the full powers of our system, but we have to say that we can work with devices where you don't have such a tariff, and we can still provide quite nice savings with just improving the efficiency of the device itself.
Okay. Just to sort of conclude, one question, because like in the market, heat pumps have sometimes, there's a lot of deployment, but sometimes they've gotten a bit of a bad rap when there's a problem with the heat pump, but nobody discovers that there's a problem with the heat pump. Can your service also sort of assist in this? That if there's an issue with the heat pump functioning, can it sort of alert about that? Or is that something that is already covered by the heat pump manufacturers' own apps? Or because this is something that's at least some years ago was a complaint in the market that some of the owners had made the heat pump installations and they did not know that for example, one of the pumps was not working properly. Can you also help in that?
Absolutely. This is part of the superpowers that we are building for our customers. It's dependent as an engineer, it's dependent on the data that we get, what we can do. But there are ways to infer from very basic data that something might be off. But we already have different kind of pilots with certain partners where we're developing and testing capabilities to monitor and alert heat pump owners and maintenance people on certain aspects of the things. Preventive maintenance, we're calling that fleet management of the heat pump. So especially built for maintenance people who might have thousands of heat pumps on their systems. What kind of intelligence can we provide them in real time about the whole fleet? And then, of course, on the other end of that is the thousands of heat pump users who might have don't have peace of mind with their device when something is off. So the first thing is just to understand, is something off? Do I need to do anything? I need to do something. Okay, what do I need to do? And stop going from there. So absolutely, these are the aspects where we want to help as well. And as I said in the beginning, it comes back that we're building the superpowers, and only a quarter of those superpowers are directly related to reducing energy costs. And the other superpowers are related to other matters that you might have with your device.
Okay, super. Hey, thank you, Jaakko. And I guess we can conclude that the all the heat pump owners out there really should sort of bring superpowers to their heat pumps by taking Capacity IO service into use. So thank you for coming to the studio today and explaining us what Capacity IO does. Thanks, Jaakko.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening. To follow future episodes, subscribe to our newsletter at www.actionenergymarket.com and select Action Energy Market Global Service. We publish new episodes on Fridays. If you are a technology provider or developer in the energy or clean infrastructure area, add your solution to our solution bank.